The regular town council meeting for the town of Cave Creek, Arizona on December 16th, 2024 is called to order. We have a roll call, please. Oops, it's silent. Never mind. Never mind. We had a silent roll call. The Pledge of Allegiance. Kathy, would you lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance? Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Public announcements. The only one I had was we had a dynamite. I can use that explosive term. Grand opening for the fire station. Mr. Ford, nice work. It was very nice. I got a lot of compliments about it. Teresa, thank you very much.
We got a lot of publicity too.
Yeah, we did.
They thanked and talked about.
Oh, Bo
Yeah.
got all the news out there, so we were famous all over the world. And we had, I understand that it was an open house all day long. We had almost 300 people go through them.
Wow.
So that's a pretty good percentage of the population of the town. So I think it was well done, staff. Any other announcements from council?
Mayor Morris,
Yes.
just a brief remembrance of a long-term Cave Creek resident, J.F. Williams had been a council member on the Planning Commission, on the Board of Adjustment, a big supporter of the museum and instrumental in Spur Cross development back in the day. And he passed away this past October. His wife Sandy likewise had been very active in the community as well. So just a brief remembrance of one of our good citizens.
It was a pleasure working with Jay. He had a lot of good ideas and he was wonderful to work with. And his dedication to the museum and to the community in general was great. Thank you.
The other announcement also on the fire station is that there was an emergency call that came in on one of the very first shifts. There was a rattlesnake in somebody's house. It was mine, but I wasn't there. We had a sitter in town with our horses and dogs. And so I just kept saying, call 911, call 911, and they worked it out. But she was trapped in a spot where she couldn't get past the door where the rattlesnake was. And she had to throw a trash can and then jump. Oh, we were in Texas. Okay. Next on this call to the public.
I have no requests to speak.
Okay, town manager report.
You stole my thunder. I was just going to talk about
The rattlesnake?
No, no, the grand opening. So it was a tremendous success, and our crews reported that there was a steady stream of people throughout the day and family members, or full families, I should say. And we estimated about 250 as for the number that came through that day. So, but it was amazing, and thank you for all that we're able to attend. So
Good work. We had all our equipment there. All our new
Yeah.
equipment is there.
Yes.
If I lived someplace without a fire hydrant, I'd be glad to see that pumper truck, because that's the water that's going to do the job for them. Action items are consent agenda. Number one is the approval of the October 21, 2024 regular council meeting minutes. Approval of the November 18th, 2024 regular council meeting minutes. Is there a motion to approve the consent agenda?
So moved.
Second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? The ayes have it 7-0. On the general agenda, the council consideration and approval authorizing a cooperative purchasing agreement with CS Construction Incorporated for the installation of two new solar traffic control emergency warning lights in the vicinity of the Cave Creek Fire Station for amount up to $48,175.
Good evening, Mayor, Vice Mayor, members of council. You've not been able to get rid of me yet. I'm back already. As we were building the station and working on it, the intersection of Blue Ridge and Cape Creek Road is the main entry and exit for the resources over there, the trucks and the people. Several times we noticed that it had very difficult times getting out due to the traffic, due to the speed, due to all of that. So we looked at options on what we could do, and we were able to find a joint agreement, purchasing agreement from Natana Gilbert And the company that we're talking about, CS Construction, has installed these types of lights both in Gilbert and in Scottsdale. And they're solar lights, so we don't have to do any wiring. All we have to do is pick the right spots. They'll come out and do all that for us. And so what I'm asking for tonight is if the council gives approval to the town manager to agree to the contract, the joint purchasing agreement contract off of Gilbert's contract with CS Construction for the installation of the new solar lights. I think, Brian, you have a photo of those. I took a picture of the one that's up off of Cave Creek Road before you get to Bartlett Lake for the newest Scottsdale Fire Station, 16 up there. This is what they look like. Again, these lights only work when they're actually going on a call. They're activated from the truck, from the emitter on the truck, like a intersection light. They grabs the light, turn it on, and then it turns it off after they're passed. And so they're not on all the time. And we're just warning our residents, warning our drivers that be aware there's a emergency vehicle en route. And with that, I can answer any questions.
Questions from council? Cynthia?
Thank you, Mayor Morse. The placement of the lights would be one on northbound, one on southbound, anything in the median?
Nothing in the median. No, these will be on the main road. And I will mention one thing. We're not asking for additional funding for this. This will be covered out of the already approved capital funding that you've given the fire department this year. We can cover it with that. The $49,000 or so can be covered with that. So I'm not asking for additional funding, just asking for the approval to move forward with the contract.
Did you look at other alternatives or other sources?
There, you can put in permanent wired lights, which is what you usually see like down in Tempe and Scottsdale and Phoenix. We really didn't have too many power sources to do that. And so I went to the stations that were more remote, just like I said, the one up off of Cave Creek Road, just by Bartlett Lake, and went with the power source. So it costs us a little bit more for the power, but it also doesn't cost us anything to run it. So these turned out to be the best option, in my mind, my opinion, the best option for what we have here.
And is this the same kind of equipment or same kind of whatever device that they have in these other locations?
Yes, yeah, the photo is of the one off of Cave Creek Road up by Bartlett Lake. It's off the Scottsdale Station 16. That's the photo of that one up there. And the ones in Gilbert are very similar.
Mayor Morse, just a follow-up question. Is there any marking on the street itself, anything that might confuse a pedestrian into thinking that's a pedestrian crosswalk as opposed to the fire station exit?
No, we will choose where to put these lights, and they're not going to be by crosswalks. It's not going to be a pedestrian crosswalk at all. It'll be
Right.
hopefully a little bit before the rise as you're coming north on Cave Creek Road. There's a rise and then it turns a little bit. We'll notify the people before they get over that so they can see the truck, and then coming south, we have several locations we can do it. We'll work with the manufacturers to put it in the most optimal location. They have a little more experience at that than I do.
Thank you.
Seeing no further questions, we're ready for a motion on this.
I'll do it. This is a motion to authorize a cooperative purchasing agreement with CS Construction Incorporated for the installation of 2 new solar traffic control emergency warning lights in the vicinity of the Cave Creek Fire Station for an amount up to $48,175.
Second,
Cynthia had the second, so we'll have a roll call vote on this. Excuse me.
Councilmember Driscoll,
Oh, did you have a comment? I'm sorry.
No, did other
Call to
people,
public.
I think it's important to have,
Yeah,
to
I'm
have
sorry.
these
Yeah.
kinds of safety things, Jim. I
Call to public.
appreciate you bringing this forward. And I concur, when I'm coming out of Town Hall, making that left turn, it really bothers me. And sometimes I even make a right turn and go around, especially when the snowbirds are here. It's a tough turn, and I'm so glad. And hopefully the residents will realize that it's a safety issue for them in 2 ways. One is it gets the fire truck the heck out to their house quickly. And also it's good for their drivers to know it's real safety. And I know we need it.
Cynthia?
I would concur with Tom's comments, and it was one of the first questions I asked Mr. Ford when we toured the station being built is what kind of exit security is there going to be, lights, et cetera, to notify when trucks are exiting before they hear the sirens.
Other comments? There's public comment on this. I skipped right over that.
No input for this item, Mayor.
Okay, so now we'll have the roll call vote, please.
Councilmember Driscoll,
Yes.
Councilmember Friedman,
Yes.
Councilmember McGuire,
Yes.
Councilmember Rhodes,
Aye.
Councilmember Oggerton,
Aye.
Vice Mayor Royer,
Yes.
Mayor Morris.
Aye, the ayes have it, 7-0, and we are on to number 2, which is council consideration approval
Thank you.
of second reading of ordinance
Thank you.
number 2024-06, an ordinance of the mayor and council of the town of Cave Creek, Maricopa County, Arizona, amending town code title Roman numeral 11, business regulations, chapter 111, peddlers, solicitors, and business licenses, and chapter 112, short-term rentals, and title 15, land usage, chapter 151, building regulations, and amending the town of Cave Creek zoning ordinance supplement to fee schedule, presented by the finance director.
Good evening, Mayor, Council. So this is the second reading of the ordinance that is essentially changing sections of the town code and the zoning ordinance that have fees specifically written in and generically referring to the fee schedule, which will be the next item that we will be discussing. So if you have any questions about that, please let me know.
Questions? Okay, public comment on this?
No input for this item, Mayor.
Okay, ready for a motion then?
I'll do it.
Council action, I'm sorry, motion to approve ordinance number 02024-06, amending the town code title 11, business regulations, chapter 111, peddlers, solicitors, and business licenses, and chapter 112, short-term rentals, and title 15, land usage, chapter 151, building regulations, and amending the town of Cave Creek zoning ordinance supplement to fee schedule.
I'll second it. Let's see, I guess we,
No, I think it makes sense. I mean, it's having to amend the code every time we have to change fee schedule or fees is kind of crazy. So changing the fee schedule is a lot easier.
I certainly agree with that.
Dusty, how'd you get so good with Roman numerals?
A misspent youth.
Okay, this is, we'll do a voice vote on this. All those in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, motion carries 7-0. We're on to number 3, council consideration approval of resolution number R 2024-17, a resolution of the mayor and town council of the town of Cave Creek, Maricopa County, Arizona, adopting amendments to user fees as identified in the user fee study and adopting a comprehensive fee schedule. Finance director?
Thank you. So on September 24th, we had a session where we went through the fee study and all the various fees and the changes. And at this point, we've done the posting, we've done the notice of intent, and now we're here to ask for your actual adoption of the fee schedule. It is required that the fees not go into effect at least 30 days before, and it's awkward to have it in the middle of a month. So the fees would be effective February 1st for the new fee schedule. So the one change that we do have that I did note in the staff report was we simply are just not going to implement what the fee was for business licenses. As we looked at that and went back through some information and identified that not all of the staff time that is involved in that process was included. So we're simply going to keep that fee at the amount that it was. So if there are any questions, we do have the Representative Tony Thrasher from Wildan. If you do have questions, he is available online. But we did go through this pretty extensively in that special session on September 24th.
I assume we'll update it, that particular fee that we didn't change next time through.
Yes. And we will be going through an annual process to identify, are there any fees that need to be adjusted for inflation or things like that? So typically you would do a more comprehensive fee study every 3 to 5 years, but annually in inflationary type adjustments.
As long as we can get all of the costs associated with it put into the fee schedule, I'm happy.
Other questions?
Just a follow-up question for the different divisions that had new fees added and fees adjusted. Were there any that had fees eliminated? Are there any old fees that went away? Is there anything the town gives away for free?
I don't remember a fee being eliminated. Did you have one, Luke?
Just offhand, so for example, circa 2014, PUDs and PADs, which are a function of a zoning change entitlement, were eliminated from the ordinance. But those fees are still referenced in this document, just in case they're ever brought back or reinstituted. We don't have to go back and create new fees. So they are considered in the fee schedule, but they're no longer applications that
Just
we would
inactive.
process. Yes.
Okay.
Other questions? There is public comment.
No input for this item, Mayor.
Okay, we're looking for a motion.
I'll do it again. Motion to approve resolution number R 2024-17, adopting amendments to user fees as identified in the user fee study and adopting a comprehensive fee schedule.
Second.
Dusty, you have the motion.
This, just like the same comment as last time, this kind of makes sense. It's much easier to change one thing than it is to have to go through and change 20 or 30 throughout multiple documents or multiple chapters. So I think this is a good idea, and I appreciate you taking a look at it and getting the study done.
Couldn't have said it better.
Other comments? Seeing none, we will have I guess this is financial, so we'll have a roll call on this.
Councilmember McGuire,
Yes.
Councilmember Rhodes,
Aye.
Councilmember Egerton,
Aye.
Councilmember Driscoll,
Yes.
Councilmember Friedman,
Yes.
Vice Mayor Royer,
Yes.
Mayor Morris.
Aye, motion passes 7-0. Item number 4 is council discussion approval of ordinance 2024-07, an ordinance of the mayor and council of the town of Cave Creek, Arizona, amending the town of Cave Creek zoning ordinance, chapter 2, entitled residential zones, section 2.4, entitled general regulations, subsection A, entitled accessory buildings and uses, declaring an emergency to be in conformance with Arizona House Bill 2325, Development to Services Director.
Thank you, Mayor, members of council. We have never in my time here adopted a zoning ordinance amendment by emergency. But these are a response to state legislative acts that has forced municipalities to conform with legislation. With that, I will turn it over to the case project manager, Eric Baker. Thank you.
Welcome, Eric.
Thank you. Good evening, Mayor, Vice Mayor, members of council. Like Luke said, for those of you who I haven't introduced myself to, my name is Eric Baker and I'm the associate planner. This case, along with the next 2 items on the agenda, are amendments to the zoning ordinance as a result of some recent Senate and House bills that were signed by the governor earlier this year. All 3 of these text amendments, as Luke was saying, are utilizing the emergency clause because they are as a result of state legislation and need to be adopted prior to January 1st, 2025. So this first text amendment is in response to House Bill 2325, which restricts any municipality from preventing a resident of a single-family detached lot that is half an acre or less in size from keeping up to 6 backyard fowl on a parcel. And currently, the only properties within the town that can keep backyard fowl on a property are those that have a private ranch use. And generally, a private ranch use requires a parcel to be at least 2 contiguous acres in size and be within a desert rural zoning district. I would like to emphasize that this bill specifically applies to lots that are half an acre or less in size. However, staff is proposing to include all lots that contain a single family detached residence because it wouldn't make sense to allow backyard fowl on a quarter acre size lot, but then prohibit them on a much larger acre size lot. Additionally, the zoning ordinance does not currently utilize the term fowl when referring to domestic birds as that House bill does. Rather, Appendix A of the zoning ordinance contains fowl within a slightly broader category called small ranch animals, which basically are defined as all fowl species. So that would be chinchillas, pheasants, geese, ducks, and pigeons. And then with the exception of the two non-fowl species, which are rabbits and chinchillas. So because fowl are fully incorporated by this definition, staff is proposing to utilize that already adopted term of small ranch animals with the understanding that rabbits and chinchillas are also included. At their November 21st meeting, the Planning Commission voted to recommend approval of this text amendment by a 6-0 vote, and I'd be happy to answer any questions.
We get a lot of things that come down to us from the state legislature. Some of them we like more than others. How do you feel about this particular imposition or change we have to make in response to what the legislature has done?
I don't believe I've ever been asked what my feelings are, Council Member McGuire. Once again, this is, the state looking at, so Cave Creek is very unique. We don't really fit the model of other municipalities, obviously the greater Metro Phoenix area, but the Southwest in general. Our ordinances are
As it applies to us.
correct. So, this once again is going to affect a small number of properties proportionately just based on our average lot size and allowed uses within those lots. So there's not really much, there won't be much noticeable change would be my estimation of this
Basically
bill.
housekeeping. Just,
Correct.
Yeah. Bringing things together. Thank you.
What-
Thanks for giving me your feelings.
What was the impetus for this bill?
I think it was to address inflation related to eggs and egg costs. So they just wanted to make the ability to own chickens more feasible.
Who knew that the chickens had a lobbyist?
We do.
Any other questions or no questions? Okay. There's public comment on this.
No public input for this item, Mayor.
Okay, I'm gonna make this motion. If I can find it. It's number 4, right?
Yes.
Yeah,
Number
okay.
4.
Motion to approve ordinance 2024-07 and ordinance of the mayor and council of the town of Cave Creek, Arizona, amending the town of Cave Creek zoning ordinance, chapter 2, entitled Residential Zones, section 2.4, entitled General Regulations, subsection A, entitled Accessory Buildings and Uses, declaring an emergency and to be in conformance with Arizona House Bill 2325.
Second.
Councilwoman Driscoll had the second. My comment is with water growth, electricity, drones flying all over the country, and we have a foul bill. I'm going to vote in favor of it. The second?
Second, I think it's fine to go ahead and extend fowl across the lot size. I've helped neighbors round up their turkeys, chase bobcats away from chickens and the occasional loose duck. So I'm just not sure what to do with the chinchilla.
Hold it and post for pictures.
Other comments from council? Humorous or otherwise. Okay, so this is not financial, so we'll have a voice vote on this. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Yes.
Opposed? The ayes have it 7-0. Item 5, council discussion approval of ordinance 2024-08 and ordinance of the mayor and council of Cave Creek, Arizona, amending the town of Cave Creek zoning ordinance, chapter 3, entitled Commercial Zones, subsection 3.4, entitled General Regulations, subsection A, entitled Accessory Buildings and Uses, declaring an emergency to be in conformance with Arizona House Bill 2325. Development Services.
Thank you, Mayor. I'll be presenting this one as well. This is also in response to that same House bill related to backyard fowl. The only difference is this is the commercial zones chapter And the reason we have to amend the commercial zones chapter is in the commercial buffer zoning district, a single family detached residence is an allowed use. And then in the general commercial zoning district, a single family detached residence may be permitted via site plan approval. Besides that, all the changes remain the same as the previous chapter. And we do have a very, very small handful of commercially zoned single family residences within the town. So with that, I'd be happy to answer any questions.
Questions?
So what are we allowing on this?
Basically the minimum of what the bill states. So up to 6 backyard fowl on a single family residence within a commercial zone. And I did a quick inventory. That's about 8 to 10 lots is what I could find within the town.
Those chickens have a powerful lobbyist.
Yeah.
Other questions, public comment?
No input for this item, Mayor.
Okay, then we're looking for a motion on this.
I'll make the motion. Motion to approve ordinance 02, 024, 08, an ordinance of the mayor and council of the town of Cave Creek, amending the town of Cave Creek zoning ordinance, chapter 3, entitled Commercial Zones, section 3.4, entitled General Regulations, subsection A, entitled Accessory Buildings and Uses, declaring an emergency to be in conformance with Arizona House Bill 2325.
Second.
So member, you had the motion, comment?
As above.
Right.
We had 2 rookies on this one and we got through it. Huh?
Yeah, they're great.
Okay, there is, the public, you have public comments, so I guess any other comments on this? We'll do it by voice vote. All those in favor, say aye.
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 Opposed? The ayes have it. Motion passes 7-0.
Mr. Mayor,
Yes, sir.
FYI, I'm a chicken owner. I'm not ashamed to admit it. If you shop for feed over at Tractor Supply, it's tax exempt as a Cave Creek resident. So that's something you can get at Tractor Supply. You can't get necessarily, I don't think, at Walmart. So if you go in there and sign up, they'll give you a permanent discount.
All animal food is tax exempt at Tractor
So it adds
Supply.
up. It's not just chicken feed.
What about Black Mountain feed?
I've never been offered the discount there, so I don't know.
Okay.
Wow, I'd be rich. I've been buying feed there for 20 years in large quantities.
Well, it has to be, Mr. Mayor, it has to be if the food would be taxed as food. I mean, the items would be taxed as.
Oh,
food
I see. I don't eat
and
my
not
horses.
exempt.
No.
Yeah, so-
Yeah, okay. Okay, so we are on
Number 6.
6, we're on 6, yeah. Council discussion approval of ordinance 2024-09, an ordinance of the mayor and council of the town of Cave Creek, Arizona, amending the town of Cave Creek zoning ordinance, chapter 15 entitled Zoning Procedures, section 15.5 entitled Zoning Text Amendment and Zoning Map Changes, declaring an emergency to be in conformance with Arizona Senate Bill 1162.
Thank you, Mayor. The third and final case I have for you is a zoning text amendment in response to Senate Bill 1162, which was signed by the governor back in April of this year. And this bill requires municipalities to comply with timeframes for review of zoning applications. To further elaborate, this bill requires a municipality to determine whether a zoning application is administratively complete within 30 days of staff receiving that application. Additionally, the bill provides further timeframes related to resubmittals and requires that a zoning application be approved or denied by council within 180 days of staff deeming that application administratively complete. The Planning Commission voted to recommend approval of this text amendment by a 6-0 vote. And staff did meet with legal counsel to conduct review of Chapter 15 to make sure that we were in accordance with ASRS and present those changes to you on Exhibit B, which is page 202 of your agenda packet. With that, I'd be happy to answer any questions.
Questions? Seeing none, there's public comment on this. Did you have a question, Dustin?
No, I just, just a comment. At some point, I'd like to see all of the zoning ordinance come before the council. I think it's been updated piecemeal since we've been incorporated. I don't think we've actually looked at the whole thing in a long time, might be worth that look. Just a thought.
Public comment on this?
No input for this item, Mayor.
Okay, in that case, we are ready for a motion.
We're on 6.
6, yes.
Okay, this is a motion to approve ordinance 02024-09, an ordinance of the mayor and council of the town of Cave Creek, Arizona, amending the town of Cave Creek zoning ordinance, chapter 15, entitled zoning procedures, section 15.5, entitled zoning text amendment and zoning map changes, declaring an emergency to be in conformance with Arizona State Senate Bill 1162.
I'll second that.
I don't think it's a matter of choice. Gotta do it.
Yeah, yeah. We gotta do it. Yeah. So is that your comment?
Yeah, that's my comment.
Okay. Well, mine is this has a little meat to it. I mean, it makes some sense to, put a benchmark out there and say, hey, get this done. It's a good economic thing. So I'm in favor of something like this. Other
Yeah,
comments?
one comment. I don't think we've been able to meet you, Eric, so welcome aboard. I don't know how long he's been here.
Coming up on 2 years?
Coming up on 2 years.
Wow,
Yeah.
and this is the first time you've come before us.
Yes.
Welcome.
Wow, impressive, very
Yeah,
nice
it's
job.
been a long time coming. Thank you.
Well, hope you like your
Good
job.
debut.
Thank you.
Other questions? Okay, I have completely lost. where we got in this.
Voice vote.
Voice vote.
Number
Thank you.
6.
All right, let's have a voice vote. All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes 7-0.
It's too quick. You have to keep up the vote.
Oh, I'm trying to get, yeah.
I sympathize.
Eric, thank you.
Yes, very
Come-
nice. of them.
Please come see us again.
Yeah. Don't be shy.
Council consideration approval authorizing the town manager to execute a contract with Outdoor Systems Management to perform landscape associated median enhancements subject to the median enhancement project scope for an amount up to $170,000 presented by Development Services.
Thank you, Mayor, members of council. If you recall back in June, I don't recall, I was in Australia, toot my own horn. The council was presented or given a presentation by our consulting landscape professionals, Clayton Miller of Gree and Pickett, and Glenn Farringer, owner of Earth Care for All That's Green, Cave Creek. During that presentation, consensus was determined to proceed with developing a scope of work using our consultants to go through and commence with a median enhancement program, which consists of going through scarifying our medians, breaking up that crust, taking out some quantity of dirt that has been kind of herbicided over time, herbicided. And then bringing in hydro seeding and replacing with native material, native rock that we have already quarried and farmed on site, and going out for a bid with that scope of work. Unfortunately, and not by lack of effort, we went through 2 solicitation processes. We actually direct solicited several shortlist contractors identified by our consultant team. The feedback we received back from those was that the scope was just too small for their group to mobilize and come up to Cave Creek. Outdoor Systems Management, however, is kind of a much bigger group. They'd have a lot of ADOT contracts and other municipal contracts where they work exclusively in right-of-way landscaping. So they're very well suited to do this job, and the size being little as it wasn't really an issue to them. Their price, once again, is right in line with what our consultant team had identified as kind of the range to do this scope. We have asked for an amount approval up to $170,000. Their bid was below that a little bit. We wanted to leave some funds there in case we wanted to supplement any additional trees or kind of a la carte items as they go through with the final work through the town. We had a kickoff meeting with them, a little premature, but we are due to the calendar and having to solicit and resolicit we are getting up to a time crunch with trying to get hydro seed down within a window. We would like to optimally do that no later than the end of January. So understanding that they are our only bid, and that we are comfortable with what we had budgeted for the dollar amount to do the work. We met with their team, and our team, Public Works team, and our consultants, and are hopeful to, pending approval tonight, get started with the work, first week in January. And they would expect about a month being completely done and through, with the work. So it'd be a very quick project. They would essentially start at our southernmost median along the main drag, so right around Stagecoach past Estates, and work their way through town. I think that's all I had to report. I don't know if Hal has anything to add.
No, the only thing I would say is that during the budget preparation this year, that was a high priority of the council, and you gave us plenty of money in which we're not going to come anywhere close to. So we do have a lot of room to go.
Is there a phase
Mike.
two? Thank you. Sorry. Is there a phase two after this contract is let? In other words, you're spraying seed, but are you planting any trees or cactus as part of the discussion last time?
Mayor, members of council, there is, once again, why we're asking for 170,000. Part of their bid does include new trees, which the town would be responsible for watering, hand truck watering to get established. And then there's room to add trees. But as far as a phase, really, this is the big push to get something native there established, or reestablished, reintroduced. And then really the phase two would be, how do we take care of it? How do we maintain it? How do we keep it healthy, and maintain its vigor moving forward?
Because if you remember, the consultant said that once we do this, for the first year or so, it may not be the ideal aesthetic that we're looking for, but we have to let it develop and grow so that it can be maintained properly.
One of the things that we talked about was making sure that we put a couple of native trees, and I think we gave you 3 options. The ironwood, which are kind of really cool looking at certain times of year, mesquite, and some of the native Palo Verde. And so I would like to make sure that we get in each median section a couple of trees put in too.
I believe those were the species we gave them for, and that are included in the
Okay, so they
worksheet.
are going to put some, because we
I
had talked
believe
about.
we had 12, I want to say 11 or 12 trees is what the initial estimate was to put in to supplement.
Yeah, I think there's already some trees in there, and what we're talking about is making sure there were at least 2 trees per section of medium.
But one thing to consider based on their report analysis, some medians are just not
The narrow
conducive
ones,
to
you're not going to be able
putting a
to
tree in.
understand that,
Yeah.
but most of those medians are wide enough to put trees on.
Although that said, there has been some feedback from some of our residents. They're concerned about trees obstructing visibility.
Mhm.
Somebody, when they were crossing, trying to turn left, hit one of the trees and it broke his mirror off his truck. So we have to be concerned about visibility first and
Oh,
foremost.
sure, you can't put it right at the edge.
There, and to both of your points, the consultants and the contractor as well as staff are going to be walking these medians, first part of January, and identifying where existing trees just need to be taken out that are not in a safe, configured median. They're hanging into travel lanes, the main, part of the tree is in the right of way and obstructing, traffic. So there will be a few trees that are going to be removed just because they're trimmed up to look like Charlie Brown trees, and they're not healthy, and they definitely don't belong there.
They have
So-
to get better to be a Charlie Brown tree.
Right. So that is, ultimately that is the goal. And when we talk about phase, we need to get something in there. We need to get germination and growth. And then we need to go back to the drawing board on how we maintain it and how we care for it. Because when those medians went in, they were fantastic. It took us I say us, the proverbial us. it took us a long time to get them to the point that they look like now. It's going to take a little bit of time to get them looking good and healthy again.
Mayor, just one more question. For this line item on the budget, is it in Public Works budget or in the planning department?
Public Works.
Okay, thank you.
Mr. Mayor?
Yes.
I'm just going to belabor it a little bit more if I can. One of the reasons I'm asking what comes next is because the fiscal year ends in 6 months and you've got more money than what's in this current contract award. Is there an inventory of plants that are going to be planted as part of this project or a number? Have we ever measured the distance of the road from the Carefree border south up to the Carefree border to the east? And figured out a prorated figure for linear foot of how much we're spending on medians or island prorated. I get the spraying and I get the recomposition of the material. And I understand there was discussion and was dismissed, putting boulders out there and things like that. And now we know we're cutting down more trees. And while we're on this topic, I want to get a 10-second shout out to maintaining the tamarask trees. If we decide to put that parking lot in next to Kiwanis, I'm hoping those don't come down for reasons of aesthetics and historic and so forth. But are we doing anything even with small plants besides seedlings, the spray seed? Are we doing anything to do plant restoration from the southern border to the eastern border? Because if we don't have a plan and we don't talk about that up here at some point, we're going to be in the next calendar year and then we're going to be going through the fiscal year and those monies will be returned to the general fund. And they've been approved for a specific project that I'm just hoping there's some more phases or activity or. Okay, that's my discussion. Thank you.
I was going to say the council can, during the budget season, which is coming up, the council can always decide that they want to carry over money for augmentation if necessary.
Well, we talked about this in calendar year 23, and we're now in calendar 24. We're going into 25. And I understand government moves at the speed of considerations, but where do you think we're going to be in a year or two with regard to median enhancement in the town of Cave Creek? We spent a lot of money on crosswalk signs and blinking lights and this, that, and the other. We're spending less on the medians restoration, which is really the eye candy for coming up here to the little western community of Cave Creek. Is there something that can be done that meets MAG standards? It's better than we currently have. And if, I mean, prickly pear or sage, something that's not a problem that has to, grow vertically and so forth. It just seems like we're spraying and calling it done. And if that's the plan,
Mayor, we've transplanted 170 cacti and succulents, native cacti and succulents from other jobs and programs around the town into the medians. We will continue to do that. Every opportunity we get to relocate cactus material into the medians. I think, once again, using native harvested rock, Black Mountain shale that we were able to drive off with from Jim's fire station and putting that in there instead of the Disneyland desert that some of the other medians have. And, I don't know if Carefree's watching, but go to Carefree and look at their pink granite medians. I think we're on track, and I'll kind of stand on the point that it took a long time for the medians to get in this situation. It will unfortunately take a little bit of time to get them back online without completely redoing them, adding irrigation, adding electrical, those big ticket items, which I think were part of the presentation, looking at the costs of a couple of different options. And that's all I've got to say about that.
Well, if we have extra money, would we consider improving Carefree Highway medians?
It's something we can look at and consider. We'll see where we are in February and March after this initial push is done and what that looks like and what the inconvenience is on traffic. Like I said, the company we're using, the firm we're using is familiar with working in rights of way all over the state. So we'll see what that looks like when it's all done.
I want to support what Council Member Ogden said. It seems like we're putting stuff in, but it's not apparent that that someone has taken a look and said, well, we need 42 trees because of the characteristics of the medians and because of the types we have. Do we have the right, we're doing more. We've done a bunch of things. The medians look better than they have since I've lived here. So staff gets credit for that. I guess what I'm looking for is someone who understands this to say, we need 42 trees and we can support it and we're going to go make that happen.
Yes, and that's where staff, once again, going back to the beginning, sought 2 local consultants to do an inventory. They walked every median, tagged every plant specimen in there, did a count of what we have, and then developed our hydro seed mixture to allow us to replicate native desert.
But I mean, but
And
I think
the trees are a
issue
part of
is-
that count.
Is, okay, the trees
Yes.
are part. So is it fair to say then that we're putting in all the trees that our consultants have said we need?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Any other questions or comments? There's public comment on this.
No input for this item, Mayor.
Okay,
Mayor, I'd
then,
like to do this motion.
I'm sorry,
I'd like to do the motion.
go ahead. Yeah,
Okay.
sure.
Okay. Motion to authorize the town manager to execute a contract with Outdoor Systems Management to perform landscape associated median enhancements subject of the median enhancement project scope for the amount up to $170,000.
Second. Okay, Joe, you had the motion.
I believe that the staff is doing a great job. I applaud you for that. I also want to say that I have personally full confidence that you will get this done and get this done correctly.
Second, who had the second? I did. Dusty?
I think it will take a couple of years for the medians to grow up to the point where you can start seeing a noticeable change. I mean, stuff grows slow in the desert. It'll all depend on the rain, and we are going to have to water for a year and a half to make sure that the plants survive. I do want to make sure, though, after we've done the hydro seeding, if we can get our 2 consultants back and have them look at it and make any suggested changes at that time, I think it would be wise.
Yeah, absolutely. They're once again going to be walking with us throughout the process and then after doing a summary.
The trees in particular, we're going to have to be careful with how we trim them as they're growing up, because if we're going to plant 5-gallon or 15-gallon, and I think we talked about planting a mix of both, you have to be careful, because if you cut too many branches off to try to get them to grow up, we'll have the Charlie Brown trees again.
Absolutely.
Okay, we had a motion. Other comments on this? This is financial.
Councilmember Friedman,
Yes.
Councilmember McGuire,
Yes.
Councilmember Rhodes,
Aye.
Councilmember Augerton,
Aye.
Councilmember Driscoll,
Yes.
Vice Mayor Royer,
Yes.
Mayor Morris.
Aye, motion carries 7-0. Next item is council consideration approval of the communications strategic plan presented by the Communication and Public Affairs Director. TV Bo.
Mayor, Vice Mayor, and Council, thank you very much for this opportunity to present this communication strategic plan. The purpose of the strategic plan is to provide a roadmap for consistent communications that council, residents, and town employees may depend on for general information, upcoming events, alerts, and especially during situations that may be considered public safety. The plan is flexible, so depending on the situation's communication needs, it'll provide the options to communicate to the intended audience successfully. All right, first time I get to use this machine, so let's go from there. There we go. No, we don't go. Anyway, as you've seen in the plan presented, The idea with this plan is provide a kind of a roadmap for to be the official source of information for everyone. I wanted to make sure that we had here we go. Wanted to make sure that we had a plan that is customizable, but something that I'm committed to and the town is committed to make sure that we're informing all the residents, the elected officials, our customers, employees, and news media for internal and external communications. So the key goal of this plan is to establish the town of Cave Creek as the primary source of town news. Nothing worse than knowing that people are getting their news from Facebook and other social media. They're still going to get it, but at least I want people to understand that the town says it, therefore the town is going to be the fact that they need to follow. It's important also to make sure that with this, the goal of this plan is to make sure that you have the information you need in a timely manner so that you're a resource for the people that are calling you and at 10 o'clock at night or later, I'm sure, or other times when you see them in town. It's also to engage residents and stakeholders about our town responsibilities, the services we provide, our activities, and the results of the activities that the town is providing. I want to make sure that through our communications that the information is there and it's accurate. And it's also to educate town employees because employees are really some of our best marketing tools. They're our best resources, not just for internal, but external for you as well as for our residents. They're in touch every day with a resident. And so having the correct information available to them instead of being able to say, well, I don't know and walk off is critical. So some of the goals are achieved when we raise public awareness of the decisions made by town council and the town manager. Also make sure crisis communications planning and action is up to date and current. Provide timely town information via web, social media, the printed materials, newsletters, news media, and respond promptly to the media and public inquiries. And promptly to me, I carry my phone all the time. I'll be within 24 hours. I've been in the industry a long time, so I'm not going to wait until Monday to get back to people. If a news station is calling, I'll be in touch immediately to make sure that at least they know we're in contact. So the communications and marketing will include video, digital design, multimedia for communications, and who knows what new is coming down the pike for communications, but we'll be able to do it. I'm going to design and produce engaging print and digital content, though print is changing quite a bit as far as newspapers go, but print is still a valuable tool. We're still hunter-gatherers in many ways. I'm going to be creating custom communication plans for client needs, and clients is the town. When we have an event like the fire station, working with Jim, like what do we want to talk about? How do we want to reach out to the residents and to media and to his own clients, which are other fire stations or fire chiefs around the state, as well as providing speech writing and media coaching as necessary. Again, I've been fortunate. I've been in the industry for a long time, so I know just enough to be dangerous when it comes to that. So some of the goals is creating, obviously, effective crisis communications. What is effective crisis communications? Basically making sure that the word gets out of what's going on in a timely manner, on a consistent manner. You'll see later on, how do I measure this? And I'll explain. I want to make sure there's no complaints. If there's no complaints, it means that people got the information they wanted and to stay safe. Another goal is to have the creative or the engaging social media for the town, making sure that whatever we do, people are paying attention to. They're just not flying by it. Again, I want us to be the source that people go to, and some of that, excuse me, some of that will be like through social media and making sure that people are feeling comfortable coming to us to know the information is accurate. Building strong media relations. That's something I've always taken pride in, and media has changed quite a bit over the years. it used to be print was big. I remember when I first came to Arizona, some 37 years ago, Arizona Republic had about 1.2 million subscribers. Now they're less than 200,000, I believe. So times have changed, and AZ Central, which is part of the Arizona Republic, is still a valuable resource, but it's not being followed as much. There's a lot of different resources out there. And so I try to keep up with all that I can, especially the ones that work with us closely, to make sure that they have a lot of information and accurate information to tell our story and make sure it's factual. Online digital management system, working with Brian and Teresa to make sure our website is up to date, it's current, because that's always changing. It's amazing how many things change and we forget, like some department had it buried on page 10 of their section. And so always working with the department leads to make sure that we have that information up to date and accurate, because all it takes is one person to say, I was looking for something and they didn't find it. And I feel great guilt when something like that happens. I take our communications very personally. Proactive public information and community relations. I want to make sure that this role is out there, meeting with businesses, meeting with other government agencies, meeting with our nonprofits, so they know that they have a conduit of information beyond just always reaching out to you, which is greatly appreciated, but they know that they have someone within the town that they can reach out to for information of what's going on, as far as either events of the town or perhaps projects that help communicate their needs as well. And maybe you've seen that in our newsletter, that I'm trying to share some of our bigger nonprofits that are our community partners, making sure that their story is getting out there, because we're a town of relationships, and I want to make sure that we build upon that. Then, of course, creating engaging employee communications. The employees are our #1 marketing tool when it's all said and done, and they're the driving force of, they get everything done, from our medians to streets to our fire department, and making sure that they have the information they need and that they're engaged with understanding what the purpose is, what the why is for the town. So how do we measure? I wish I had all sorts of tools that would say, percentages and numbers and stuff, but crisis communications, again, I just put down 0 complaints, and there's always going to be complaints. And that's something that, again, I would take personally, because I didn't reach them properly, perhaps, and something to strive for, to work on for the, I don't want to say the next time, but there's always a learning opportunity, a learning curve to do. Social media, I want to increase 2% reach each year. I want to be able to grow. I want our platforms to grow, so that that to me is showing proof that people are following our social media. They're engaged with it, to use that term a lot, and keep it growing. I know we have some social media platforms around here where they have 40,000 followers. Well, I don't know if we're going to get to 40,000 followers over my next 4 years, but I would love to see us get up to, on Facebook right now, we're about 5,000. I'd love to get us up to 10,000, and I know we can. So if anyone's a math person, I'm sure 2% yearly is not going to add up, but I'm still going to reach for it. Media relations, increasing placement and tracking. And placement, as much as anything, is not only the news stories that we have, but all the media relation organizations also have websites. And I want to make sure that our stories are on those websites as well, making sure that if an ABC 15 or a Channel 12 or some of our newspapers, they may not necessarily show our stories online or on TV or in the radio, but they'll have it on their website. And I just want to continue increasing, making sure we're out there, so that because it's not just always about the news, our placement of stories also drive traffic to town, as a positive to increase our economics as well as tourism, which is economics. Increase users and unique visitors to our websites. This kind of goes with our social media as well. But I want people, again, to trust that, where am I getting that source of information? I'm going to go to the website. I know it's going to be accurate. When they think of Cave Creek, I don't want them just picking up on any random Facebook page or Instagram page. I want it to be ours. And I know you can't stop everyone, but at least if people know, like, I'm going there and that's where the facts will be, I know we're going to do well. Community public information and the community relations. The quarterly newsletter, which we've just started, and the next one's about to go out once Grady approves it. And so with this newsletter, I've had a lot of compliments for it, which I appreciate. But again, it's hitting every household in Cave Creek and a few in Phoenix. That's okay. But what it does, it's going to the homes, and it's designed so that it's not treated as a potential, oh, here's another junk mail, or here's something that was in a bill, even though I know we've done that before. I've done it before, where it just kind of becomes one of those things just to throw away. I just want the bill. It's designed to be that tabloid style with some color, some visual, to get people interested in wanting to read it. And again, it's wanting people to understand, here's the information about the town that I can trust. And then representing the town at events and meetings. I live close. I want to be at everything. If I'm asked to go to a meeting to represent the town, I'm there to do it, as well as going to events and participating. And not just here in Cave Creek, wherever state meetings or even national meetings, representing, kind of carrying the flag of Cave Creek out there. It's important. It helps establish who is Cave Creek, what our values are, what our history is, where the town is going. And then employee communications, as I've said, we haven't set up our monthly newsletters yet, but that will be coming the first of the year. This will be a digital newsletter that just goes out, just kind of gathering all the information from like HR and administrative services and stuff like that, just to make sure that, again, using the same techniques of being visual, being concise, and filling in the gaps of what's going on around town or what's coming up also around town, so that people are aware. It doesn't mean they're going to read it. I hope they do, but at least it'll be out there. And so every employee has an email, and we take advantage of that. And then working with event planning, like we did with Jim, with the fire station and things like that. So it's never-ending process in our little world of communications. So with that, I look forward to your questions. Thank you.
How large is your staff?
Oh, I've got 3, because me, myself, and I. Yeah.
And it's a big job, and you have a lot of responsibility, and it's a great improvement on what we've had in the past. And I'm just so appreciative that you're here and that you're carrying us forward.
Thank you.
Mayor, just one question, Bo. Do the employees currently have a newsletter, or is this a new newsletter being developed?
This would be new.
Okay.
Yeah.
So what form of communication has been used internally with employees in the past?
Well, a variety of emails that go out from different groups, or either the town manager or Teresa has sent them out before. So it's almost been a send out when they have the information, instead of being a consistent, here's a one document I can look at to have the majority of news for that month, let's say.
Thank you.
More questions? Two things occur to me. One is, you're looking for something measurable. The number of emails or ways of we know how many residences and how many businesses we have in town. Do we have an email for each one of those? I don't think so. But that might be something to even to measure. Is our penetration 80%, 90%? Is it 40%?
We have currently, Mayor and Council, we currently have about 1,200 emails on our general mailing list that we send out for announcements for the business forum, for example. Though we have 5,000 residents, I know that number.
There are probably 3,500 residences and businesses, roughly,
Yeah.
something like that. The water company plus the ones that aren't wells probably is best, but so it's a pretty low penetration right now as far as our ability to contact people. The second thing is during a crisis, we've had two that I've been around for. One was the Tonto Creek, Cave Creek, the complex fire, I guess it's being called, and the other was, well, the two of them in 2020. And in each of those cases, the residents did not feel they knew where to go. What do I do? Okay, I live over here. That kind of personalized information. You know, the incident command officer gives a press briefing once a day and that's it. They're not around at 10 o'clock when one person has a question. So I'd urge you to think about that. And if there is another emergency, when there is another emergency, the number of fires we had last year seemed like we were the only place that wasn't burning at times. That it's going to happen again where we have a lot of people asking questions on what they ought to do.
Yeah.
And that takes coordination with the agencies who are running it, as well as our fire department probably isn't going to be incident command in a very large fire. So we have to have that relationship and with the sheriff and with the responding agencies. I think we need to do some thinking on that because it hasn't really worked very well in the past.
Well, Mayor, thank you. The recent fires that we had up on just past Elephant Mountain there, that I was in contact with Tonto National Forest, who was the kind of the command agency for that, as well as Daisy Mountain. And Jim kept me well informed of just sharing, you know, the information as it became available. Because not everyone knows, like, oh, I need to look up Tonto National Forest in order to see what's going on. But you're absolutely right. It's building those relationships and making sure that we're part of the team. We don't want to, it'll naturally will be a little bit rolled down. I want to be right there when it happens for the communications so that we're a good resource for residents.
Yeah, the gap is not at the agency level to us. The gap is between us and the residents, which the agencies take absolutely no responsibility for.
Correct.
And that's the gap that we need to fill in my view, so that we can't give out information we don't have. Right. But just having a way to get information that they know about, because no one looks at it until the fire's next door. Yeah. So, okay. Well, very good. This is very, very good that we have this kind of planning going on and this kind of communication.
Mayor, if you remember several months ago, you had an idea that was raised here, and I just want to remind you of your idea because I think it was a good idea, which was, I wasn't sure the form it was going to come out, but it was sheriff statistics, reports to the community of arrests or that type of thing. And we never really, we get a verbal report in here periodically, but.
Yeah, quarterly. Well, Adam's not here.
We will, next month, we will have an update.
Okay.
But maybe you might want to incorporate that in whatever he's putting out quarterly.
That's not a bad
Because
idea.
people's like.
Yeah,
people
that's
read
a
obits,
great
people
idea, as a
read
matter of
crime
fact.
Statistics, you know, it's just different things.
Yeah, the
It
number.
was your idea originally, and I thought we should resurrect it again this
No,
evening.
it's good.
So.
Especially the number of tickets. Everybody thinks we're not giving any tickets out. I see them being given out all over town.
Adam's good.
Yeah, more tickets is good. Yeah.
Mayor, we are looking for a motion to approve the plan.
Okay.
Oh, we want to.
I'll give it.
Please.
Motion to approve the communication strategic plan.
Second. Okay,
Comments?
Catherine?
I'm thrilled. Honestly, coming from the same background as you, Bo, you put a lot of work into this plan. There's a lot of meat to it, and you'll be the only one who's executing it along with certain staff members that you work with. But we wish you the best of luck. We're glad you're here. We needed you, and I'm sure you'll do a fabulous job.
Thank you.
yeah, you're already doing a fabulous job. We saw each other every day this week, last week, I think.
Sorry.
Somewhere. I'm getting kind of tired of that. No, it really is good. You do a wonderful job in public, and thank you for all you're doing for the town, Bo.
Thank you.
Other comments? Okay.
Go Grizz. Good job.
Thank you.
Yeah.
We need a voice vote on this, I guess. So All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries 7-0. And last is a presentation of quarterly administrative services report.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. This is the whole department, Brian and I. So we're going to give you just an overview of what we're doing, what we're planning to do. We are open to more input and suggestions. This is just our first report. And IT specifically on the second quarter report will have a lot more detail to provide at that point. We want to give you some wins in that report. So go ahead, Brian. We can move on. We're going to be covering information technology, human resources, and risk management. This is just a reminder of the performance measures that are specifically applying to human resources. I'm not going to read them all to you. You guys developed these, but we're going to go through some graphs and data that I do have available at this time for each issue. First one would be the retention rate of regular full-time employees during the initial probationary period. This is data since 2019 that I was able to retrieve. And right now we're on a win. The calendar year hasn't finished. I don't want to jinx myself. So this is what we have, and we hope it maintains. These are based on calendar year, just the way the data was collated. So it's calendar year rather than fiscal year at this point. Maintaining turnover at or below the national average for state and local government. We do use the U.S. Bureau of Labor Statistics data for this. I do want to note that some additional data has come in for 2024. There's a lag time on their reporting. So right now this was only through partial September data. It is now at 15.1% of turnover for the Bureau of Labor Statistics. So we are under that threshold. And again, hopefully the next 2 weeks, our data holds steady. We'll still be waiting for the rest of October, November, and December data for the BLS. So I'm hoping that we'll be substantially under their number. Not that I want any turnover in the other fields, but that's the trend, and that's what I'm expecting. A couple others are tracking the number of preventable work-related injuries per year and tracking the number of lost days due to work-related injuries. I don't have quite as much data available on this, but I'll give you what I have. So I only have the last couple years. We did have a number of lost days from 2023. We had multiple people injured. There were 6 injuries, 5 that were deemed preventable, 58 lost days between those 6 people. This year, we're trending very well. Again, we don't want to jinx anybody. We don't want any injuries before the end of the year. This is also calendar year data. So we have a couple more weeks to complete before the 2024 data will actually be finalized. Recruitments. This is just a little data for ongoing. We had 5 recruitments during that quarter with 71 applications, which is actually pretty good for Cave Creek. We got some exposure posting out on social media in addition to our website, and then LinkedIn. Teresa and I like to share with our groups, and we see people sharing our share. So I know we're reaching wider audiences, and we're trying to reach outside just the geographic area. There are additional recruitment tools that we could use in the future that I'm looking into, and there may be a budget request associated with that, but we're looking at some ability to maybe proactively even recruit and steal people if we can. So for risk management, we did have Southwest Risk come out and perform a safety survey of Town Hall, the water plant, and the water ranch. No major violations were noted. They did have some safety recommendations made. For example, we had some bottles that were not labeled with their material safety data labels that they should have had. We had some housekeeping issues in the connexes. We will have some more detail as we rectify some of those issues, just so that you can see how they've all been resolved. That should be coming on the next report as well. So then we do have some focus area and goals that align with the strategic plan. Action item of staffing and process improvement study. That was slated for this next year based on a 5-year cycle. That is in process. I'm working on trying to identify some vendors and obtain informal quotes just to be able to build the budget. And that budget request, again, you will see during the budget process that's coming up soon. Another one was consultants to conduct an employee benefit study. That was presented to council in May of 2024. We implemented the first enhancements in July of 2024, bringing all of our benefits under one umbrella and then enhancing our dental benefits pretty significantly. We do still have some ongoing efforts in this area, and you'll be hearing more on that soon. Grady may have already let you know that we're exploring a possibility of joining a trust for some savings that would be reflected for the town and the employees, but also with richer benefits. Another item, this one I will defer to Brian. He has some things in progress, but the action item was enterprise-wide software, looking for a consultant to evaluate best practices and implement enterprise-wide software applications. And I liked this slide so much, it's in there twice. I apologize for that, but I'll turn this one over to Brian.
Thank you, Council. We have been in contact with the Arizona Department of Homeland Security as well as a number of other people, representatives from MAG, to try to find out who would be a good consultant to work with on this. We have not yet put out inquiries for this, but we are at the moment of gathering names.
Is that as far as software security or computer security?
It would be determining what would be our best ways of implementing new softwares across the town.
Right. And so looking at enterprise-wide software applications, we're looking for things that multiple departments that can use. The platform might have different modules or functionality that would benefit multiple departments. Right now, we have single departments that have their software, and it's a lot for our IT team of one to help maintain and uphold. But there are options out there. There are more platforms that are coming out that are multifunctional and multi-departmental. And we just want to see what's out there, how it could benefit us, and any efficiency it can bring, rather than having to input data into multiple systems and having one system that cascades the data through an entire database rather than just components. I think would be beneficial to the town, but we're still working to identify those possible consultants and solutions. So another one was employee training needs assessment, employee training programs. This last summer, we did expand our learning management system. We added some additional OSHA trainings in addition to rainwater runoff. So we are also looking to add something for heat exposure and heat illness prevention. That's something that's coming down the pipeline for OSHA. It has not been adopted as an administrative rule, but obviously we live in Arizona. That's probably something good for us to develop and not only train our employees, but put some systems into place. They're really good about hydrating, and our groups are really, the department directors are very good about overseeing the employees. But if we have something that's more systemic and fully inculcated between all of the staff members, would probably be more beneficial for the employees as well. Then it could also protect the town. Personnel manual, this is a big one. So we're looking for innovative and high-performing organization as the focus area. Personnel manual updates. Our personnel manual hasn't been updated as a whole since 2019. There are some policies that we have adjusted as one-offs, but I am looking for a consultant, and I have identified some priority areas just to expand our definitions of, say, bereavement leave. There's other policies that aren't being consistently followed, and it's not because someone's trying not to, it's just they've evolved. The practices internally have evolved and the manual has not. So we want to make sure that we have something that's fresh, that's updated, and that's completely defensible. So we want to actually engage a consultant who specializes in the legal aspects of this, and that can help us comprehensively go through the entire manual and align the manual where needed. So some of the additional items that we're working on for alignment, our standby pay is something we're comparing with other benchmark cities Looks like we're a little behind on that. So comprehensively, we want to look at compensation as an entire package, not just pieces and parts. Something that's also been identified by the workforce and exit interviews has been work-life balance initiatives. So we want to make sure employees do have some ability to restore and bring back some energy before they have to come back to the workplace. We do work with very small staff. We wear multiple hats, and that is something that we want to see what we can develop and what we can do to enhance that, especially if people are leaving because of that. We're looking also at enhancing training and professional development opportunities, especially in the area of supervisory and leadership training. We have some great employees that have come from the front line and move up the chain. We want to give them all the tools and resources they need to be successful as a leader rather than just a manager, and also to help their employees be successful as well. So to develop those coaching and mentoring techniques that enhance the workforce and build that work culture. So in addition to exit interview data, which we already do, I'm working on developing stay interviews, which are much more proactive. By the time you're doing an exit interview, it's a little bit too late. So if we can develop those stay interviews, again, trying to just get some, some feedback on the culture, something that they feel confident that is not going to be shared with their supervisor if they don't want it to be shared back. So I'm figuring out ways to anonymize some of those survey tools and to make people feel comfortable and confident and trusting in that process. So just as a little fun fact, our management team, that includes the deputy town manager who's sitting with us and all of our directors, they're across the board, very well educated, several master's degrees, multiple credentials across various disciplines, experience across large, medium, and small populations, and more than 200 years of cumulative public sector management level experience, not just public sector experience, with an average of 20.01 years per director. Bet you guys didn't know that. Anybody have any questions or input, direction? Other things you'd like to see on the next report?
Mayor?
Yes, go
Just a question on the town safety survey from Southwest Risk. In that, did they identify other additional training beyond kind of the OSHA basics for workplace safety that would have impact on lost days in the future?
So that's on a case-by-case basis. We did look back at some of the injuries that we've had. Some of it was, again, reinforcing the safety training. So one of the things with Vector Solutions, it's the same videos. So we're looking at possibilities of bringing in live trainers to kind of mix it up a little bit and maybe modernize some of the trainings and to bring it into probably a more contemporary version. The old training, the videos are great, but when you watch them about 10 times once every year. Yeah. And you can do the quiz in your sleep. So we are looking at ways to kind of mix that up. So part of the budget request this next year might be some additional live training that can come into the town and provide those types of trainings as well.
Thank you.
Questions? Question I had was on your lost work days, that's normally reported as a per million man hours, something like it, because that 58 days must have blown it out into the stratosphere.
Right.
You typically would expect to work 1 million hours with no lost time injuries.
Right.
So
And-
I'd just like to see that be specific so we can tell how bad
Sure.
things are for our small staff. I mean,
Sure.
and using the OSHA developed statistics is probably the way to go.
Right. So we can develop that. This is just data that I was able to gather from files. So I'll try to break that down and itemize it even further, and then I'll use the OSHA calculation for
Okay.
percentage of lost hours for total.
Other questions?
So generally, more training is better. And I'm glad to see we're starting to tackle some of the other pieces. I think we also need to take a look at particularly with the utilities, perhaps some of the work that some of the training that goes on in Phoenix and Scottsdale, and see maybe if we can piggyback on some of their training. I know in particular, we just don't have the kind of money to bring in the kind of folks they can. But if we could pay a pro rata basis to get some of our folks in there, I think that would be helpful. I also would like to see if we can expand For instance, the planning and zoning, for the Planning and Zoning Commission. There's some specific training that's free that they could go to that would get them to be certified as planners. And I think that would be useful for them also. So there's stuff out there. I just think we ought to take advantage of it when we can. You have to be careful on planning and zoning, especially. Those certifications are really valuable, particularly for the volunteers who are on the planning and zoning. And I just think if we can get them a little bit extra training and a little bit extra oomph, it'll help overall when we come around to this, to the general plan and the other things, the specific area plans and things that we're doing. So I think that all those things are good ideas.
Right, I'll definitely consult back with Luke's department on that. And then mentioning the cooperative services and training, trying to piggyback on with Phoenix and Scottsdale Fire does that all the time. So those are definitely methods that I'm looking into. The really, really big cities sometimes aren't as cooperative as I wish they were, but I can definitely reach out to my cohorts across the valley and see what we can do so that there's not a lot of travel involved and that we can still get some kind of bang for our buck.
You might have better luck with Gilbert and Chandler. They seem to be a little bit more reasonable on things.
Oh, I just wanted to piggyback on what Dusty was talking about. Years ago, we used to have APA for the Planning and Zoning Commissioners and the Board of Adjustment. And I think it was free, but I'm not sure. I think there might have been some processing costs. But if we could revisit APA availability for Board of Adjustment, which I guess, I mean, we do have, I don't know if it ever meets, but planning and zoning, it would be nice to restore. And the briefings are prestigious and worthwhile. I think the participants get a lot of value out of them. So
Well, thank you.
I just wanted to piggyback on that, Dusty.
I will definitely look into that. Thank you.
Well, I just want to say I'm really happy to see us addressing this and putting energy. I mean, we compete with the big towns around us for personnel, and we lose personnel to them all the time. Retention's a big deal. And so congratulations, well done. This is a great start, and I'm very pleased to see this.
Well, thank you very much. Appreciate it.
Are there any items for the agenda? If not, we are dismissed. Good night. Meeting adjourned.